They went through my credit cards, and what they did is they basically made purchases with my card. Now, one of my cards was immediately canceled, but the reason they held me for 3 days is because my other card was not.
So what's your name? Mm-hmm. What's your age and where you're from?
Eric Hall, 54, from Southern California.
What brings you to Colombia?
Good question. I was just working and COVID and things slowing down, and I thought, I always wanted to do a trip like this, and my youngest son finished high school, so I thought, I'm just going to pack everything up and head south September 2020, and 8 months later, got here a year ago in May 2021 to Colombia.
Was that the first time you've been here?
No, I've been here, it was probably about the 10th time. In about 3.5 years, I've been here many times.
So you've been here like more than 10 times then?
Yeah.
And, so you're pretty knowledgeable about the area.
Yeah.
You speak Spanish, obviously?
I do. Yeah, I had 2 years in high school. And I've been to Spain and Mexico and Puerto Rico. And it's got a lot better since I've been here for, I don't know, about 9 months now.
So did you speak Spanish when you first came here?
I did, but I don't know what grade you'd call it. I felt I was about 40% proficient. Now I feel I'm about 65% proficient.
Okay. Nice. And then once you got here, which part do you stay in?
I like Medellin, and I've been here the most. I've been to many other parts of Colombia, but I like Medellin the most.
Mm-hmm. Why is that?
A lot of reasons. I think the weather is kind of ideal. Bogota for me is too high and too cold and too wet, and there's way too many people, too much traffic. And for riding a motorcycle, you're kind of exposed. So Medellin is kind of perfect. It's kind of like Denver, but without the snow and the pine trees, obviously, but it's about the same elevation. Mm. And it's sort of central, like I can get up to Cartagena or down to Cali or Manizales or wherever, in a day's ride. So yeah, it's pretty central. But the people here are pretty nice.
Absolutely.
Too. Yeah, paisas.
That's the one.
Yeah.
You got here, tell me, you've been so many times, we're going to get to, the heat of what we want to talk about right now.
Yeah.
So which year was this when the story of what happened to you on Tinder happened? Yeah,
it was last year, 2020. It was May, and I'd only been here a week or two.
Okay.
And I thought, well, I'm living in Medellin now. Probably get on, the dating apps and see what's out there.
So yeah, you got here and you wanted to meet some ladies.
Yeah.
I guess like everyone else.
Yeah,
Colombians everyone knows Colombian women are absolutely beautiful. So
they are. Yeah.
How did you go about doing that?
Basically dating apps, Tinder and Bumble, I've used those in my travels before and when I was living in the States, and they're kind of global. So just thought I'd meet someone via one of those dating apps.
Those two are the most popular ones. Everyone knows about Tinder.
I think so. I mean, there might be some others, but I'm not really aware of all of them.
So you used them in the States, you said, and then the other travels as well. So I guess in Mexico and all these other countries. And you ever have any problems there?
No.
Just completely fine. Mm-hmm. So you thought when you came here, it's going to be the same thing, just jump on, no issues. You never even thought about any problems?
No, not really. I mean, it's kind of a process. You talk to someone online, you get their information, maybe you talk on the phone, and then you meet them in person. You're kind of gradually screening those people either in or out. So, apps are a pretty convenient way to do that.
Okay, absolutely. And so you matched this girl. She was roughly, can you tell us how old she was?
I think she was about 28.
28, okay.
Yeah.
And she's from Medellin, obviously. She's Colombian. Mm-hmm. And tell me about the profile. So you swiped her, you got a match. Mm-hmm. Just describe what she looked like without too much detail, but just in general.
It's pretty generic. I mean, she looked like the typical paisa. Black hair, lighter skin, pretty, lots of, selfie shots and stuff like that. So
so her photos were mainly selfie shots, you would say?
Yeah.
And were the photos low quality also, would you say? Like she's just standing there taking with her phone?
Yeah, I mean, they weren't terrible, but they weren't like professionally shot.
There's no camera shot with someone else taking and stuff.
I don't really remember. She might have had some other photos with her friends.
But the main thing you remembered was profile shots, you would say?
Yeah, there was really nothing that stood out about her photos that would like be a red flag or something.
Okay, so you saw this profile and it was basically like hundreds of other profiles you've seen before here
Yeah.
in different countries, so nothing stood out at all.
Yeah, it didn't stand out. I mean, some people are like in the sex industry and they'll be very upfront and say, well, this is how much it's going to cost. And I'm like,
Straight away they say that.
yeah,
So
because
you
they don't
mentioned
they don't
that
want to
you
waste time either.
Okay.
And I'm like, nah, that's not what I'm into.
So those sex workers, they don't play around. You'd say they just
No, they're very
match and then,
upfront.
Like,
Yeah.
So much you wanted
Yeah.
it, let's go.
They're not going to surprise you and wait till you show up and say, oh, by the way, I'm a sex worker.
Okay, that doesn't happen.
No, they'll just tell you right away because they don't want to waste their time either.
That's true. It's a business
And-
for them, right?
Yeah, and you know, I've had 2 girlfriends in 3 years, and you know, I'm not like the typical sex tourist, you know, that you hear about.
Sex
Here.
pats, they call them, eh?
Sex paths?
It's a
Do
great
they?
word, yeah.
I haven't
You know
heard
about
that. I haven't heard that.
Yeah. You can use it if you want.
Sex paths. Okay, I'll use that.
So you match her.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me the process of how you develop. You get from there to the point of meeting up.
Yeah, so it's just, you know, conversation. Hey, what's your name?
You're speaking Spanish, I guess.
Yeah, writing.
Google
yeah.
Translate.
Exactly. Yeah, but I'm not. I'm pretty good with Spanish.
Okay.
So we're talking, and you know, one thing seemed very real and normal. I was saying something about wanting to. I was looking for. I said I had allergies. You know, she said, "How you doing?" "Oh, I'm feeling okay." "Allergies? Oh, do you have COVID?" "No." So I mean, she was concerned I might have COVID. You know, that's kind of a normal question. I said, "No, it's just allergies, but I'm looking for this allergy medication." She said, "Oh, I think I saw that at this pharmacy down near my house. If you want to come by sometime, I could meet you there." I'm like, "Okay." I like, you know, she sounds normal. She sounds like a real person, nice person. She didn't seem like she was trying to scam me at the time or anything. So, but yeah.
So you went. So that was your first meeting when she said, "I'll meet you to get this medicine with you."
Yeah. I met her at this pharmacy, and I know where it is. I don't think there's any point mentioning the address or part of town.
Which, for reference sake, which was it? Poblado, Laureles, where?
You know what? I'm gonna have to check. I think it might be Laureles.
Okay, sure.
Yeah,
Okay,
but
that's all you need to say. But yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'll double check. Yeah.
Okay, so you went down there. You met her at the pharmacy.
Yeah, the pharmacy downstairs. And I thought, you know, there's probably going to be like a cafe or something here. We'll just sit down and have some coffee. But she invited me up to her place for a drink.
Did you buy the medicine?
I did.
Okay,
Yeah.
so she came with you, helped you select the medicine.
Yeah.
And then you got it, and then she
Yeah.
said,
So we went up to her place, and her brother was there. It looked like an apartment. It turns out later it was a hotel room, but it looked like a suite, you know, because there was like rooms and kitchens. And,
okay, so nice place.
yeah, it was pretty nice. And he came out. He was asleep, and she said, "Oh, he's in there with his girlfriend," and he was, I guess, sleeping in late or whatever. And so he came out and got some Coca-Cola, and she said, "Oh, I have some rum for you if you want." And it was in a glass. It was already already prepared.
Oh.
And I'm like, I'm not that stupid, you know. So I'm like, I lied. I said, "Oh, I don't like. A mí no me gusta ron, por favor. ¿Tienes cerveza? You know, do you have beer?" Because I figured I can open my own beer.
See.
And so I remember she got me a beer, but that's all I remember.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you paint the picture for me. This is a nice place. You sat down on the couch or something, I guess.
Yeah, I think it was some chairs.
Okay, and then she went to the kitchen to get you the beer, and
Yeah.
that's out of sight out of your line of sight.
No. And she brought me a Club Colombia, you know, a can of beer,
and it was closed.
aluminum can. It was closed. I opened it myself. I even wiped it off. I think probably with the tail of my shirt or something.
Wow.
You know, and then I opened it. So I'm like, well, that's cool. You know, it's my own beer.
Yeah, so you took some precautions. You weren't just fucking there slinging this stuff, whatever.
Yeah. And then the next thing I know, I wake up. I'm in a bed in one of those rooms, fully clothed. My helmet's there, my jacket's there from my motorcycle jacket, and my wallet's in my pocket. And I immediately knew that I had been drugged.
How did you know that?
Because, I mean, you don't just like wake up. You don't just black out from one beer. You know, it's like I knew immediately they did something to me.
But you don't even remember drinking the beer, right?
I remember drinking the beer.
Okay.
And I remember talking to her.
Oh, wow.
And she was nice and friendly. And then the next thing I know, I woke up. I thought it was later that day because it was light. It was 3 days later.
3 days later, you woke up in the same apartment.
Yeah.
And no one was there?
No.
Everyone gone?
Everyone gone. And I knew immediately that I had been drugged, obviously. And probably robbed. But I don't know at what point. I did look in my wallet. All my cards were there. I even had 60,000 pesos, which is what, like $25?
$15?
15? I'm not sure. So I still have my money. I'm like, well, okay. Well, I'm okay. I'm in one piece and I've got my stuff. I'm out of here. I'm going back home and we'll figure this out later, what happened. So, yeah.
So how do you think you got drugged?
I really don't have any idea. I've heard stories about like they'll have like powder like on some paper and they'll blow it in your face, or like with contact with your skin, like if they put something on your skin it can soak in. Or I don't know, maybe she put it in my beer when I wasn't looking or distracted me.
Super sneaky, huh?
Yeah,
It's almost like
I don't know.
She's a professional, she knows.
Oh, they're obviously professional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who was this guy, you think? Just protection?
Well, she said it was her brother, but I'm sure it was just an accomplice.
Just
He was there to help her,
Just in case shit goes down, because obviously a big
Yeah.
guy, like what are you, 6'4"?
6'3" and a quarter,
Okay, so
230
it's not like
pounds.
you're
I
just
mean,
some small fragile guy.
I'm not some guy that most people want to mess around
You're a
with.
big fucker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I could rip your jaw out.
Yeah.
I could do a lot of damage if I wanted to. But that's the thing with scopolamine, assuming that's what it was, is people are very compliant. They're almost childlike in their eagerness to provide you whatever it is you're in search of. But, I don't have any memory of any of it, unfortunately.
So I have heard that, so just by what I know about the drug, she
Mm-hmm.
probably gave it to you, you were under the influence. You don't remember anything, you don't have any memory, right?
No,
So what
zero,
happened?
which is almost kind of a good thing because, this is traumatic. And thinking about it in retrospect, it's weird. It's like you wake up one day and all your friends are telling you, oh my God, hey Kay, what happened? What, are you okay? And you're like, well, what are you talking about? I just woke up. Like nothing happened to me. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So like, I didn't have anything to be traumatized about, just the idea that, oh my God, I was out for 3 days.
Yeah.
And it's interesting why I was out for 3 days. They went through my credit cards, and what they did is they basically made purchases with my card that were approved. Now, one of my cards was immediately canceled, but the reason they held me for 3 days is because my other card was not.
Okay.
So my bank kind of, I think, plays a role in this story in that their inability to protect me put me even in more danger because they were draining my bank account basically, $6,800.
So they probably re-drugged you while you were already drugged.
That's another thing that's very scary is because they held me for 3 days, from what I've heard, people have to be dosed every 12 hours. So they were continuously dosing me, which ups the chance that you can die.
Yeah,
people stop breathing and it happens a lot, unfortunately. So
I have heard about that. In the really high dosages, if they give you too much, you can die.
yeah,
So
you
they
stop
have
breathing.
It really professionally organized.
Yeah.
How much to give you every so and so
Yeah.
hours.
Yeah.
And then they let you go when your card stopped working. You said.
I assume.
Okay.
I assume so. Yeah. Now, scopolamine. I don't know if you want to talk about that. The drug itself.
Yeah.
How do I know I was drugged with scopolamine? I don't. When I got back, I'll tell you that story in a minute if you're interested. My friend said, hey, dude, you've been gone for 3 days. You were drugged and robbed. You said you fell over on your motorcycle on the way back. I'll tell you about that in a sec. We're going to take you to the hospital, get you checked out. So I got all the blood tests. The blood work was clean. They tested me for everything, like 6, 7, 8 different classes of drugs: cocaine, heroin, marijuana, barbiturates, benzos. I don't even know what benzos are.
Painkillers or something, I think.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Anti-anxiety, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But my friend's wife was there with me, and she's a doctor, and she asked, did you test it for scopolamine? And they said yes, but then the paperwork I got, the bill, the receipt, mentioned blood test, all this blood work, but it never said scopolamine.
Wow.
So my question is, well, if it wasn't scopolamine, what was it then? Because it wasn't the benzos. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. And I kind of raised my, okay, I'm a gringo who just said he was drugged and robbed in Medellin. Chances are, it was scopolamine. So scopolamine is from a tree called a brugmansia. And I actually had one in my house in Irvine. And one time I was cutting the tree, and some of the pollen got on my what do you call it? Like a Polar Tech fleece hoodie jacket. Yeah. Then I went camping with my son, and I think what happened was Like I went to wipe my eye or something. Well, it got in my eye, it dilated my pupil. And that's a clue to what the drug is used for. It's used by ophthalmologists around the world to dilate your eye. But it obviously has other, psychoactive
In higher doses, I guess.
uses. Yeah.
So then your son asked you to buy all these toys and stuff, and you bought all of them, or
What's that?
your son asked because you were under the influence?
Oh,
of
no.
basketball?
No, unfortunately, it was just my eye that
Okay,
reacted.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you had one in your house in California.
Yeah.
I thought it only grew in Colombia.
Yeah, but they obviously export them because they're decorative.
They're a nice little bellflower, right?
Yeah, it's also called Grimaldi's trumpet.
Yeah.
And it's upside down yellow or
Yeah.
sometimes white flower.
Yeah.
They're incredibly fragrant in the evening. Before the sun goes down, you can smell it. It's incredible. But if you have pets, you want to be careful because if the pets eat the flowers, they can die.
Okay.
But apparently the drug is used in ophthalmology to dilate your pupil, but it's also used by, criminals.
Yeah, to get you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we haven't touched on yet how much did you actually end up losing from when they took your credit card and started buying stuff?
$6,800.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you could never recover that money. Your
No.
bank was like bad luck.
Basically, well, yes and no. They gave me the runaround. When your bank tells you to fax something to them, they're telling you that they're not going to do anything about it.
Yeah.
And I tried for months, and I'm still considering legal routes
But you
to
never,
get that
up
because it
until
is
now,
fraud.
What's this? Almost a year later, 2 years later, nothing's happened.
No, nothing's happened, and it's really kind of one of those stigma things that I mentioned before. Oh, you're a what do you call a sex pat? It's your fault that this happened to you. I'm not a sex tourist. I was looking to date
You didn't
someone.
even have sex.
No, I didn't even get a happy ending.
You didn't get anything.
No,
Yeah.
nothing. It's unfortunate.
Just out of curiosity, what type of stores did they spend your money on?
Yeah, so there was a lot of charges. There was charges to like local grocery stores for obviously food and probably alcohol. There was a big charge to a liquor store, which I'm like, hey, come on. My bank knows how many times I've used my card at a liquor store over the last 36 years I've been banking with them. It's not very often. And $400 worth of alcohol, especially in Colombia, I mean, that should set off alarm bells. Some automotive repair place, I mean, I ride a motorcycle. I don't drive a car. But the three big charges were some like cash transfer app that's they use down here in South America, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was three really big cash transfers, like $1,800, $2,200, $2,300. Wow. That was kind of the bulk of it.
Yeah. And I also think the first thing that raises in my head is that all those little smaller transactions probably could have been at shops where they have friends or something, and they just put it through as a transaction.
Yeah.
But then bang, straight to their account.
Yep. Probably.
Yeah. Wow.
I don't know.
So that's pretty heavy. Almost $7,000, huh?
Yeah.
Just gone.
Yeah.
So I guess, afterwards, after all this happened, what were your actions? You went and got tested, obviously, for the drugs, and then it took some days to recover. Were you fucked up at all for a while, or you was fine?
I don't know. I think I was a little loopy for a couple days. So I woke up and I saw my stuff. I'm like, I'm out of here. And I felt like a little woozy. And I remember thinking, am I okay to ride a motorcycle? Because it's something you got to think about when you get on a bike, because it's dangerous. You can hurt yourself or hurt someone else. But I thought, I think I feel okay. So I put my phone, on the bike, and I did the whole ways to get back to my apartment. I remember being in stop and go traffic, and I was stopped, and this taxi was trying to push his way in. They're aggressive drivers here.
Yeah.
So I tried to make a little bit of room for him. So I was just holding the bike. I had both feet on the ground, but I sort of moved the handlebars to the right and to move the bike over. And for what reason, I don't know. I think I lost my footing on the right side. Well, I tipped over.
Wow.
And I think I remember like trying to get up. It had really shaken my balance, and like I couldn't even get up. And some people in traffic stopped, and they said, "Hey, are you okay?" I'm like, "No, I'm not okay. I was just drugged and robbed. I'm trying to get back to my place." And they're like, "Well, hold on, just relax. We'll take care of it. Don't worry about it." Some really nice people. And I don't remember all the details because I was still kind of under the influence. Next thing I know, like a flatbed truck comes, and a guy says, "Hey, I can, like for 90,000 pesos, I'll put your bike on the back and I'll give you a ride to your place. Is that okay?" I said, "Yeah, sure, thanks." Well, I was asleep in the cab of his truck before we even got to my
So
apartment.
you're still feeling the effects.
Yeah, and it was only like a 15-minute ride. So when the guards, like the porters, saw me get out, they're like, "Hey, you know, Eric's friends have been calling for him for 3
You're
days."
like, where the fuck is this guy?
Yeah, so they called my buddy Ben, and they're like, "Hey, Eric just showed up. A tow truck brought him. We helped him up to his apartment. He's sleeping." So next thing I know, knock on the door. It's my buddy Ben, but I don't recognize him. He comes in. He says, "Hey, how you doing?" I said, "Pretty good. I'm tired. You know, I was drugged and robbed and blah blah blah." He sets his hat down. I see a sticker on his helmet. And I said, "Oh, I know the people that own that restaurant. Yeah, those are my buddies." He was looking at me. He realized I didn't recognize him. He's like, "Dude, we're taking you to the hospital.
Wow.
You know, we got to get you checked out." I said, No, I'm okay. I'm okay." Well, he calls his dad, my friend, with the charity, and his dad, you know, my friend, straightened me out. He's like, "Let me talk to Eric." You know, he's like, "God damn it, go to the hospital now." I'm like, "Okay." So I went. Yeah, and I was pretty woozy. Went to the hospital, checked out, no damage. I had a scrape on my back and a hole in my shirt. I think it might have been actually when I tipped the bike over. I don't know. But I had no damage. They x-rayed my head, did a CAT scan. My head was fine, and no drugs.
Smoked your brain for a few days.
Well, I was kind of loopy.
You
Kind of
didn't
like,
recognize your mate.
yeah.
Wow,
And then like the day after, it was this Saturday. I called the bank and I reported this stuff. And then a few days went by and I couldn't remember what I talked to the bank about.
Wow.
So I had to call the bank back and said, "Hey, I called you on Saturday to report this, but I don't remember exactly what I talked
So it
about."
messes up your memory for like
For a couple of days,
some
yeah.
residual effects, obviously.
Yeah, and thank God, I mean, there's no long-term damage. I've heard you can have problems with sleep, with memory, with anxiety, and just nothing. So thank God,
you
like
got pretty
there's,
lucky.
yeah.
So let's just revisit, because guys are going to use Tinder. They're in Colombia. There's all these beautiful women around.
Yeah.
So can't stop them from doing that. But we can give them a bit of a guideline on what to look out for.
Sure.
And how to avoid situations that unfortunately happen to you.
Yeah.
So let's revisit step by step from the last memory you had.
Yeah.
Opening the beer, drinking, game over, right?
Yeah.
So what could you have done anything leading up to that point in time to save yourself all this trouble?
Absolutely. Great question. There's a lot of things I could have done differently, and I will do differently in the future. Number one, when you're traveling internationally and you have cards, you need to make sure that the bank will, you know, cancel the card if there's something suspicious quickly. Now, it's not easy to get a replacement card, but on the other hand, I mean, look what happened to me. They kept me longer because I had a card that wasn't so quickly canceled. It was canceled after 3 days. So, you know, you should protect yourself there. At least make sure that if something like this does happen, your bank is going to cover you. But another thing is just in general, if it's too good to be true, chances are it is. You know, move on to someone who seems real. You know, and she seemed pretty real. She did a good job of convincing me that she was authentic. But at the same time, in a lot of cases, guys are all too eager to, you know, get to first base as quickly as possible. Another thing though is meet people in a public place. Now we met in a pharmacy, but then later I went to her place. Meet in a public place, keep an eye on your drink. You know, don't have a drink with someone unless you're opening it. But tell your friends where you're going. Say, "Hey, you know, Tom, I'm going to be at this place, meeting this girl, I'll probably be an hour or two." You can even share your location in WhatsApp for as much as, 8 hours. But those are some tips that you should definitely think about is, you know, tell people where you're going, share your information, ask for their contact information up front so you have something to go on.
Look at the WhatsApp, Instagram, and Facebook maybe.
Do you have an Instagram I can follow? What's your WhatsApp? You know, because then you have information on them that verifies that they are a real person, and there's a little bit of accountability there. Yeah, something that most guys are never going to think about.
Yeah, it's just better to know a bit about them before you meet up with them. See that they have friends, and you know, maybe when you go on Facebook or something, you check, it says they work here, they do this, they do that, right? But then there's some profiles that's completely private.
Yeah,
it might be some sort of red flag as well, right?
Yeah, and there's some guys never think about, but in this case, you gotta.
Well, they don't think about it because it's not a thing in their countries. It doesn't happen, but here I think you need to take some extra precautions.
Absolutely.
And in the apartment at all, once you were there, is there anything you could have done to save yourself?
Honestly, no, because I was offered the rum first, and I said no thanks because I didn't pour it. I did ask for the beer. I did open it, so I honestly don't know how it happened. They could have done whatever. I don't know what I could have done differently there.
So basically,
but I shouldn't have been there.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It leads me to what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Basically, once you're in the apartment, it's too late.
Yeah.
It's too late. So
it's a professional group of people looking to drug you.
Yeah.
It's too late.
So unless you're completely comfortable with someone, let's say a few dates, you've met up with them and you know about them, never go to their apartment. No. Or never bring them to your apartment either. Exactly.
And a lot of cases of that happening where the woman will come to the guy's place and then clean him out of everything, his computer and camera and whatever valuables, cash, everything gone.
You know, I spoke to a guy who had this happen to him, and he said he woke up, same thing, I think a day later or something, and everything in his house was gone. Yeah. Even his food and the butter in his fridge was gone as well.
That's crazy.
Empty. Furniture, everything gone.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Terrible.
So, we're all guys, and it's hard to say no, you know, especially when a beautiful woman is saying, like, come around to my place or something, but it can save you a lot of heartache, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Save your life.
Exactly. Afterwards, you went on your bike, almost crashed it.
Yeah.
You got tested for the drugs at the hospital.
Local
and
hospital.
Then after, what happened? Did you ever think about reporting this to the cops?
You know, I did, but I was afraid of retribution because I don't know who does this. I don't know if it's organized crime or if they're going to come after you and attempt to intimidate you. And it's like, I just want to be an anonymous, you know, tourist and put this behind me. But after dealing with my bank and talking to my friends, they're like, no, Eric, you need to get a police report. You need to make sure, because you could save someone else's life if you are willing to report it. And I'm like, you know what, I got to step up. I got to report it. So I did.
And what happened?
Basically nothing. It's just a report. It was just for my own convenience, something I could show my bank, which didn't do any good. My bank never covered it, obviously. But Tinder said, yeah, if the police want to contact us, we'll share that information with them, and they never did.
It's deleted profile, probably.
Yeah, but I mean...
the police never contacted?
The police never contacted Tinder. Tinder would provide that archived info if the police asked for it. They never did. Okay. The police never went to the location, didn't interview the hotel, you know, so they didn't do anything.
Wow, because the hotel probably could have got the information of who reserved it and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. At least a description or what was their card or what was their ID or cedula. Oftentimes they photocopy that stuff, but I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
So basically, what we're trying to say is just don't put yourself in a situation where anything like this can happen. Yeah. Because once you're in an apartment, it's too late. Yeah. And after that, there's nothing you can do. Yeah. It's going to be pretty much too bad.
And I don't want to make Medellin look bad, but there's not a whole lot that they can do really. Mm-hmm. And don't think that the police are going to prevent this from happening. You're still a danger if you don't go out there with both eyes wide open.
Absolutely.
So.
All right, man. Thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I hope it gives guys something to think about and saves a lot of people the same heartache and
absolutely
stuff that you went through.
Yeah.
So thanks for fronting up and sharing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.